Keep praying with me. And we letting everybody know we got a dream. Yo, stay focused. Keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right. Let's go.
Your faith is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't turn right. Just look straight. You don't have to fear no.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am your host, Dr. Yolanda Jerry, also known as just Yolanda, if that's what you want to call me. I am excited about the special guest that we have tonight by the name of Miss Carol Boston. Look, you guys, this lady is known as the Queen of Reframe. But before we get into who this phenomenal woman is, I'm going to ask that you please share this broadcast. Invite a friend, invite a partner, invite a family member, whoever you want to come and join with us tonight so you can kind of get this Queen of Reframe tea that she's going to be dropping with us tonight. So again, please share this broadcast, invite someone in, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, where you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their stories. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofits, and ministries were birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world, one story at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Yolanda Jerry.
All right, and we are back. So look, as I mentioned before we went on our little break we just had, I mentioned that we have my special guest by the name of Carol Boston, the Queen of Reframe. So who is she? She is a phenomenal woman who helps you quickly reframe any challenge so you can double or triple your income in record time. Now, did y'all just hear that first line? She said, I just said double or triple your income in record time. This is somebody y'all need to know. Carol, a former professional tennis player, took her relentless training to the boardroom, spending 26 years as a very successful sales expert for Fortune 100 companies. Her repeated success led to her launching Carol Boston Coaching, where she leads women business owners and she says a few good men to transform their mindset, freeing them to create the life and business of their dreams. When the pandemic struck, she took her own advice and reframed her circumstances, taking a leap of faith that allowed her to operate her entire business online. The results speak for themselves. Now look, I'm gonna go back before I bring Carol on here. I'm gonna go back to that first line. I need to say this again. She helps you quickly reframe any challenge so you can double or triple your income in record time. Now, you know, I'm gonna be over here taking my notes because I want to sit down and make sure I double and triple mine too as well. So look, without further ado, I'm going to bring Miss Carol to the show. Hi, Carol.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Miss Queen of Reframe in the house.
That's right.
How have you been?
I've been good. I think you and I chatted a little bit earlier, getting over COVID, but it could have been a lot worse. So I'm
Wow.
back on the mend and looking forward to a fantastic 2022.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, I want to say thank you so much for, booking to be on my show as my special guest. I'm always honored to meet new people and to find out the things that they're doing. I don't never think that I know enough. So every time I have a new guest on the show, I try to take my notes because there's always something that I can learn. I love to learn from people.
Yes.
And look, I read your bio. I want to know how I can double and triple my income. And I'm sure the people that's tuning in want to make sure that they know how to do that too. So with that said, I'm going to give a shout out to some people that have tuned in before we get into your story. So there's a couple of people that have tuned in. Miss Veronica McGee, Miss Salika, she is here. Hi, Salika. We also have Christy Gilner. We have Catherine. And we also have Tracy Brown. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for tuning in with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we also have Shannon as well. I assume these are some of your folks that are tuning in. So thank you so much for coming to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry show. It's going to be a great time tonight. So Carol, let's talk about you a little bit. Now, I read your bio and we see all of these wonderful things that you've done, in a short little snippet. But I always like to start my show with asking, my guests, tell us a little bit about where you're from and a little bit about your childhood, if you don't mind.
Sure. I was born in West Texas, grew up in Louisiana. Yeah, my accent still comes out sometimes. And I grew up between two brothers. I come from a small family. My mother was an only child, and my father had one brother. So when I was almost 12 years old, we moved to Shreveport, Louisiana. Now, I was raised in the Deep South. And there are rules in the Deep South that are spoken and unspoken about how little girls are supposed to behave. Well, I didn't really understand that I was breaking the rules, but when I was in 6th grade, when I was 12 years old, I became the first girl to play hardball with the boys, baseball, and I played shortstop. My mother was not too happy. Thank goodness I had my dad on the sidelines like, you go, girl, come on, play ball. So I had my dad there, and I guess that was the first, when I look back, obviously I didn't know then, that was my first foray into really leadership. In 9th grade, I would say my second foray into leadership is I became the first, and according to my dad, still the only female president of the student council of my junior high school. And that gave me opportunities to have my first speaking engagements. And then when I was 13, I was raised in a very athletic family, very competitive. I mean, you are not supposed to lose. So when I was 13, I was really good at football, baseball, and basketball with the boys. But my dad said, let's go play tennis. And I said, what's that? He goes, oh, it's kind of like baseball. You just swing. You can do this. Mm-hmm. And so I went, and we tried for about 30 minutes. And Dr. Yolanda, I literally went up and put the racket down in front of the net. And I looked at my dad and I said, don't you ever ask me to do this again. You brought me out here to embarrass me.
Wow.
And then fast forward 2 years, I was 15 years old and I was on the swim team. And I noticed that my teammates would go down and play tennis in between swim team practices. Well, there comes that competitiveness, right? I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And so I had an old John Mac. We didn't have money. Like we didn't belong to the country club, right? So I had this old John McEnroe wooden tennis racket. And here's what I knew. I knew that my brain was a sponge. So what I would do is I would go sit on the sidelines and listen to the pro teach the other kids, right? And then I would get the other kids who'd been playing since they were 5 years old to play with me because I knew that if I was playing with people that were better than me, I could get better.
Right.
And I translate that into business today for my clients, right? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you on the sidelines listening to? And are you in a room with people that are smarter and better than you are? They've been there longer so that you can learn from them.
Wow.
So that's how I started. And lo and behold, I actually made number 6 on the high school team. I was ecstatic.
Wow.
Because only 6 get to play singles. So fast forward to my junior year, and my dad pulled me aside, and he's got a really heavy accent. And he says, now, Kerr, you need to get a job or you need to get an academic scholarship. I can't send you to college. And I said, but Dad, I'm going to get a tennis scholarship. He paused. He looked down his nose at me and he goes, like I said, get a job or get an academic scholarship. But I trusted in someone else's vision for me. If you're an entrepreneur out there right now listening, or you want to have your own business, oftentimes the very people that are closest to us are the ones that don't support us. Mm. Whether they're scared for us, whether it's just unknown territory, whatever it is. My dad, I guess, didn't think I had it in me, but this other person did. And it was the first time that I trusted in someone else's vision for me until I could believe it for myself, right? And so I kept playing and kept practicing. And I was so blessed. Are you ready? The other 5 girls on the tennis team all came from Piermont Oaks Country Club.
Oh, they all came from country club and you weren't even from the country club.
They all had a private coach since they were 5 years old.
Wow.
And he happened to take a liking to me. So he would do things like call me up. His name was Jerry Montgomery, amazing man. And he'd say, hey, Carol, I'm going to be working on Lauren's forehand. You want to come return forehands? Because he knew I would listen to him, teach her. I'm like, sure, I got to go to the country club, right? So off I went. We actually won the high school championships in San Antonio, Texas. Very, very blessed. I got to play with people that were so much better than me.
Wow.
And I got offered 3 full scholarships, but they weren't to the colleges I wanted to go to. As you see me take a little bit of water tonight, since I'm still battling COVID, I'm an LSU Fighting Tiger.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey, so am I. I love LSU. Wait a minute. Hold on, Carol. Let me tell you. Did you know I'm from New Orleans, right?
I don't think I did know that.
New Orleans, born and raised.
No, you gotta say Nolans. It's not New
Orleans. Well, I
Nolans.
had to, I've been retired, I've been in the military, been all over the place. So, I have to say it right for the people, because if I don't say it right, they're gonna be like, what'd she say? Can you say that again?
That's right.
So yes, LSU, amazing college.
So I got a half scholarship to LSU. That's where I wanted to go. My doubles partner was going there. So I took out a student loan and off I went. Guess what happened? I got to play number 6 again. I was ecstatic. I was in the top 6. I got to play singles. And I got to the end of my freshman year, and the rest of the team was taking the summer off. Well, what I did is I went and got on the 21 and under tour to keep playing and practicing. Mm-hmm. Now, I told you I didn't have any money, right? That was back in the day when it was safe enough to hitch rides. And I would hitch rides from city to city to go from tournament to tournament. And I was determined to stay in the top 16 seeds, because if you were seeded in the top 16, you got free housing. And so that's what I did. And one of the gentlemen on the tour also played for LSU, and I would practice with him a lot. Now, those guys, they hit that ball so much harder and so much faster. And I would stand out there, and he would get a grocery cart full of balls, and he would serve the ball to me. Let me tell you, I would come home with bruises. I couldn't get out of the way fast enough, right?
Oh, my goodness.
But I was determined to stand in there and learn, how to do that. So I come back at the beginning of my sophomore year, and we had tryouts. All the same women on the team, except one new freshman. And I went from playing number 6 to playing number 2.
Wow, look at that.
And then by the end of that semester, I was playing number 1.
Wow.
And I went on to play number 1 for the rest of my career, and then became team captain for 3 years. And that was my, next opportunity at leadership. Wow. But how I translate that for my clients is that actually I'm creating 7 steps to an unstoppable business, limitless leadership. It's my new course, right? The 7th step is raise your game, how to become a professional athlete in your business. Mm. So one of the things I talk about is that sometimes you have to be willing to practice when everybody else is resting.
That's right.
And that's what I did that summer, and it made all the difference in the world.
Wow.
So I went through, graduated, had a great career at LSU. As a matter of fact, just to crack you up, this is quite a few years ago. I was on an online dating site, right?
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Talking to this lady out of Tennessee. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by the way.
Okay.
And so she comes back at me in this email one night, and she actually sounded like she was kind of ticked off. And I'm like, she goes, why didn't you tell me? I'll tell you what. She said that your career at LSU, you're still in one of the top 10 winningest records at LSU. you're number 7. And I said, I didn't know because I don't keep up with that stuff, right?
Right.
I don't know. So there I was, and I graduated, and I had a degree in criminal law and thought I was either going to join the FBI and go to law school, but I did what Southern girls in the Bible Belt are taught to do.
Mm-hmm.
I got married.
Uh-oh.
Right? Oh, yeah. So there went law school. There went the FBI. And I played professional tennis off and on between injuries, had a great time, made enough money to pay my way. But, I was not a Chris Everett or top player, but I had a lot of fun, learned a lot, went through a divorce, and my car caught on fire. So I called my dad. My dad's been in the insurance business for 30 years. I'm like, Dad. He says, now, Carol, I am not in that kind of insurance. I can't help you. But if you come home, I got somebody to help you get a car, even if you don't have a job. You see, I knew that I didn't want to be a tennis teaching professional the rest of my life.
Right.
I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. So I go home to Shreveport, I get a new car, and off I go to Dallas, Texas. And I'm living with my second cousin. She was head of personnel for Neiman Marcus, and she taught me how to wear the Navy suit, and I had the pearls on and the heels, right?
Uh-oh.
Now, this is in 1987. Very important. The government, U.S. government, had just broken up AT&T and all the baby bells from the monopoly. That's when telecommunications competition came in, right? MCI and Sprint and all these companies. Well, I got hired by a company called Metro Media Communications. For those of you who've never heard of it, it was owned by John Kluge. He also owned the the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, yeah.
He owned the Ice Capades. He had about 30 radio stations. And so I got offered a job. And the lady said, will you come in tomorrow and meet my boss, the vice president? I'm like, sure. So I get dressed. I go in the next day. And she interviews me, and she sits back in her chair. And she says, well, Carol, I'll see you in Miami in a week. Now, mind you, I needed a job. And I said, no, you won't. I said, I'm interviewing in Dallas. You have an office in Dallas. My friends from the tennis tour are in Dallas. And my family is 3.5 hours away. I'm working in Dallas. Kind of ballsy, right? For somebody who needed a job.
Right.
So she was calm again. And she sat back and she looked at me and she said, I really need somebody strong in Miami in a week. And I pushed back again. I'm like, how do you know I'm strong? I've never done this before. And here's what she said. And she said, trust me and just be there in a week. And so I did. And it was the second time in my life that I trusted in someone else's vision for me until I could believe it for myself. And that led to a 26 plus very successful career as a sales expert for Fortune 100 companies.
Wow.
Right.
Look at that.
So there I was in the summer of 2014. The summer before, I had been through a bad car wreck and was having challenges and was in a toxic relationship that I chose to stay in because I really, really, really convinced myself, listen, folks, we can convince ourselves of anything.
Ooh, that mind is something else, boy. That's the devil's playground. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean. And I had convinced myself that I needed her testimony in my lawsuit against Allstate because the kid who hit me had been uninsured. And I had like 40 grand out of pocket already and all kind of bills. And I knew that she was the only one. See, this was my justification. I knew that she was the only one that had seen day after day, like sometimes 5-6 days in a row where I could barely get to the edge of the bed to pee in a bucket. It was painful, right?
Wow.
So I got a call from my boss and they told me they were cutting my territory by 80%. I'm like, 80%?
Oh, that's a big chunk, man.
Yeah, right? I've been building this territory for 6.5 years. Now, I kind of thought they were setting me up to fail, but that relationship at home really started chirping in my ear. They're using you. Well, so was she, right? But they're using you. You need to go find another job. Now, I was a weird salesperson. And do I help my clients with sales? Absolutely. Am I strictly a sales coach? No. And I do things very differently. That's how they grow their businesses. But I love large corporate structure and I'm a rule follower. I got to tell you, in corporate America, that is not true for most salespeople, right? So a friend of mine whispered in my ear about an opportunity at a small company. And I thought, well, I don't know what I don't know. And off I went. After 2 interviews, Dr. Yolanda, They gave me the position. They doubled my base salary plus commissions, and they gave me a director title, right? I could just see,
Uh-oh.
yeah, boy, right? Little did I know,
Uh-oh.
a title doesn't mean anything, right? And that's why today, when people who hear me give talks, I say, I believe in top-down, bottom-up leadership. You do not have to have a title to be
Ooh,
a
that's
leader,
so important.
right? So there I was 6 weeks into this job, and I was on vacation. It was in my contract. I negotiated it up front because I'd already paid for it. Gorgeous, beautiful New Mexico. If you've never been to the world's largest hot air balloon festival in Albuquerque, New Mexico, you got to go. It's incredible. So at the time, and you quoted something by Maya Angelou earlier before we got on this show, right?
Uh-oh.
And so at the time, I was doing what I thought a good employee was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was staying in touch with my boss, the CEO, while I was on vacation. Now, I do not advocate that for my clients. Now, I say when you're on vacation, you're on vacation, right?
Right.
But I got this email asking my opinion on something, and I replied right back. And I waited because he usually replies right back.
Mm-hmm.
We went out, we enjoyed our day, dinner and cocktails. We come in, it's about 9 o'clock. Ding, there goes my phone. Carol Boston, you got mail. And here's what it said. It said, Carol, comma, that's what you really think? And it had 5 question marks behind it. Then it said, do not come into this office on Monday. When your vacation is over, you're done here.
What?
That's what I said. What?
Oh my gosh, hold that thought. I want you to hold that thought right there. It's be like, what? Hold that thought. We're gonna come back and get the rest of this story. I'm gonna go to commercial break right quick, but you hold that because we gotta get the rest of this tea. All right, everyone. Well, that commercial was sponsored by none other than Dr. Yolanda Jerry herself from YJ Empowerment Solutions. Look, we just dropped a book on January 6th. It hit #1 bestseller on Amazon. These men came with their stories of their truth, and now they're out there helping people in the world. So if you want to grab a copy, you can reach out to one of those authors, or you can go to hiswalkpasthell.com and order your book today. So now we're back with Miss Carol, Queen of Reframe. And look, let me tell you something. She was about to go hard before we went to commercial break. And she was talking about her story about how she was working for this company and they were telling her, you know what? We don't want you to come back. Take your vacation. Don't come back. So come on, Carol. Look, if y'all are tuning in, y'all need to go back and watch the replay, or you can tune in right now and then go back and watch the replay, however you want to do it. But make sure you share this broadcast with somebody, because I'm telling you, Carol is bringing it tonight. All right, Carol, go ahead.
So I came back to Florida and I had an interview the very next day. I mean, I'd had a very successful career. And I interviewed all over this country for months and months and months. Some companies paid to fly me out to California, Chicago, Atlanta, Austin, sometimes 3 and 4 times to crickets. And I thought, how ironic that I could sell $70 million worth of business for somebody else and I can't close a deal to get myself a job.
Wow.
I was depleting my 401k. What was compelling me to do that? I have a book coming out later this year called You Can't Read the Label When You're Inside a Jar, and we're all in a jar. I was in my jar. All I could see is that I was a buttoned up corporate sales professional and I was determined to get a job. So faith is my foundation, and that's where I always go. So there I was, like I say, many months into this process, depleting all my savings. And I was kind of yelling at God, to be honest. I'm like, God, I'm like, look.
We all do it sometimes. We all do it. I'm guilty.
I'm like, look, you created me. You know I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I do not want to own my own business. You got to help me find a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Yolanda, 2 weeks to the day from that prayer, out of the blue, I get an email from a woman that I met one time out of town at a conference, and she gifted me a $3,500 ticket to go to Los Angeles to go to Guerrilla Business School to do what? Study entrepreneurship. I mean, my God's got a sense of humor, right?
What?
Yeah.
Paid the whole flight. You said $3,500?
$3,500.
Oh my goodness. Look at God.
So obviously what I was doing wasn't working. And there I was again. What I don't know. So off I went to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where I came up with the title of my book. That was the first thing. And I've always been in leadership, and I was studying with some of the best, right? The pioneers, Michael Strassner, John Maxwell. And then I was introduced to empowering questions, and I was amazed at their power. This is in May of 2015, and I was determined to master them. I've been working to master them for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I became the Queen of Reframe. You can bring me any challenge. If someone wants to put a challenge in there for you in the chat, and I can help you quickly reframe it, give you a completely new perspective, and give you some effective action steps you can take right away to move you closer to your goal. But guess what? It's May of 2015. I'm still in my jar.
Uh-oh. Really?
There I was. So I got my first coaching certification, but I couldn't let go of trying to sell services into corporate America. So I had these 3 services I was selling. Let's fast forward 2 more years to the fall of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And there I was, still holding on to these services, stuck in my jar, got my second coaching certification. The gentleman who did it, Christian Michelson, multimillionaire, all he does is coach coaches, right? So we're on a phone call with about 100 people. This is long before Zoom. And he said, Carol, you're a sales coach. I said, I don't want to be a sales coach.
Like I've been selling all my life. I'm tired.
And he says, but it's the hottest niche with the fewest good coaches, and you're really good. I said, yeah, I don't want to be a sales coach.
Mm.
So he kind of sighed. You could hear him. He goes, oh, okay, Carol, what do you want to do? And I said, my ideal client knows and accepts that they are 100% responsible for their experience of life. Dr. Yolanda, this man groaned so loudly, went, oh my God. Personal development, Carol, that sounds like work. Nobody's paying for work.
Right.
He said, sell them what they want and give them what they need. Now, I told you I'm a rule follower. That sounded like bait and switch to me.
Right.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to learn that one. But what I learned that fall, right after that, was so critical. I learned there was a huge difference between being committed to something and being convicted. You see, because people decommit every day, don't they? They say, I'm committed to this marriage for life until the day I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're convicted, you will not rest until you get it done. And you understand that your comfort and your convenience and your conviction, they don't live on the same block. They're not even on the same zip code.
Mm.
And Lisa Nichols says, sometimes your greatest blessings come wrapped up in sandpaper. And let me tell you, since I had gotten fired, I'd been roughed up. Right. And that was when I decided to let go of those 3 services and become all in. Burn the bridges, burn the ships, become all in. There's no plan B. I was convicted to becoming the best coach and speaker that I could become.
Wow.
One other really quick story. Now, if you let me go too long, you got to reel me in because
I got you.
So there I was in December of that year, 2017, before I gave up the 3 services, and I'm at Nova Southeastern University presenting these services for their employees. We finished our meeting and we're walking back across campus, and this lady stopped, amazing lady, and she looked me up and down. She goes, I know what I'm going to do for you, Carol. I said, what? She said, I'm going to hire you. I said, to do what? She said, to speak. I said, to speak? Now, her exact words were, don't give me that bullshit. You're a speaker. And I said, well, who am I speaking to? She said, I'm going to put you in front of 35 or 40 of the top HR people of the top corporations in all of South Florida. And I thought, oh my God, I am in the frying pan.
Not really. I mean, You a salesperson. This is your arena.
Yeah, but that mindset change to being a keynote speaker, right, was different for me.
Right.
And I said, well, when am I going to give this talk? This is December the 9th, 2017. She said, oh, probably March or April. I thought, oh my goodness. And I said, well, how long am I going to speak for? She said, 90 minutes. I said, 90 minutes?
That's a long time.
She said, you know what she said? She goes, don't give me that. Send me your CV and your fees. I thought, my fees? I'm going to get paid to speak?
Uh-oh. Come on now.
Listen, this is a God thing. This is the third pivotal time in my life where I trusted in someone else's vision for me until I could believe it for myself. Now, as God would have it, I didn't speak or march in April. It got put off till August the 9th. But during that time, I actually had an office, and I met a woman named Lori, who was a content writer and a brand expert. And she began to help me. We were working on crafting this talk. Listen, this talk, they were getting CEUs. They were getting credits.
Credits.
It had to pass. I had to go through all this paperwork. Now, I met another lady there at the office who was in HR, and she wanted me to give a different talk, a 90-minute talk, to Kaiser University 1 week before Nova. But the lady who was the decision maker at Kaiser, she kept, I'm not sure your talk is for us, Carol. I'm not sure you're right, blah, blah. So Lori kept saying, Carol, just let it go. I go, no. I am not going to Nova and get paid to speak, never having done this before.
Wow.
Even if it's a different talk. Now, one of the things I teach on is that we create as we speak. I really work with my clients languaging, not only how to craft empowering questions and empowered statement, but their languaging that we create as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that first talk I gave at Kaiser, the title was Courageous Leadership, Navigating a Successful Course in the Winds of Change. I want you to listen to that title. This is August the 2nd of 2018. Fast forward 1 year later, I sold my house of 26 years to take the equity out to continue to grow this business. And God saw fit for me to move 9 times in 18 months while trying to grow a new business.
Wow. That's a lot of moves.
It's a lot of moves. Think about the title of that talk, Navigating a Successful Course in the Winds of Change.
Wow.
And that was the week before Nova. So off I went to Nova, totally different talk. And I show up, and there was 2 of us. Now, the lady who was going to speak before me, she was from France. She had written a book on the brain. She had 19 titles behind her name. All of these degrees, PhD this and MA that and SM that. I don't know. I'm Carol Boston, right? So I walk in the room, and this man with a big booming voice goes, Carol Boston, really loud. And the lady who hired me looked at me and she goes, do you know Barry? And Barry goes, of course. And she goes, Barry, you know Carol? He goes, she's the only reason I came to this talk today. I thought, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Barry and I had worked together for 10 years at AT&T back in the 90s.
Wow.
So I decided I would go help this other nice lady set up. She was going to speak first, right? So I'm helping her set up, and she looks at me and she says, so Carol, how long you been on the circuit? I said, what circuit? She goes, the speaking circuit. I said, oh.
You didn't even know what that was.
I leaned in. I go, oh, I kind of whispered. I said, oh, I'm not supposed to tell you. She goes, how come? I said, because last Thursday was my first time and today's my second. She looked at me like I had lost my mind. Now, either I had lost my mind or Nova had lost their mind. So she went first. To make a long story short, she totally lost the room. I felt bad for her. She lost the room, and it was getting close to my time to talk. And I went to the bathroom, and I'm stretching out in the hallway. And the lady who hired me comes out and she grabs me by the shoulders and she's in my face. And she goes, you are going to increase the energy in the room, aren't you? I'm like, of course. I'm just concerned that 90 minutes isn't enough time for all my content. She goes, that's what we want. We want content. You're not going to use those damn slides, are you? No slides for me. No slides. So I go in there and here's the first lesson I learned as a professional speaker. Take your own time cards. She said she would keep the time for me. I trusted her. Now there's 53, 55 people in the room. It's a big room. Everybody's got big breakfast tables, right? She's sitting across the room and she holds up my first sign. And I just kind of chuckled. She wrote it in regular ballpoint ink. I'm like, I can't read
You
that.
can't see that.
Everybody kind of laughed at me. And she said something like 30 minutes or something. I don't know. And I got everybody doing an exercise. And I went over to her. I go, no. I have 45 minutes. Remember, we started 15 minutes late. She goes, oh, yeah, I'll fix that. We kept going. Things were going great. And she's now at the very back of the room next to my BFF who was taking film for me. And she holds the sign up again. And I laughed. I'm like, I can't read that. And they both spoke at the same time. And I thought I heard 3 minutes. I thought, oh my goodness, 3 minutes. I said, give me 4 minutes and I'll wrap this up. So I start wrapping everything up. Everybody's standing up and they're clapping. She makes a beeline around the room and she gets in my ear. She says, I didn't say 3 minutes. I said 30. Sit them down and teach them something.
Wow.
Okay. I got everybody sit down. I said, this is awesome. We've got time for Q&A. And so we did.
But you had to reframe your mindset right in that moment too.
Right in that moment, I reframed. And one of the things I say in my talks, and when I'm teaching, I'll say, that's a writer downer, right? So there I was in this 30 minutes and we're doing Q&A and I'm teaching and talking. And I said something and a lady on the front row goes, hey, that's another writer downer, right? You know what I thought? I go, damn, these people are actually listening to me.
Hey, look, when you got their attention, they're gonna listen to everything.
And it was amazing. So there were 3 people in the room. 2 had heard me at Kaiser, another lady I knew from somewhere else, and they came up afterwards and they said, people, when I tell you that all you have to do is take the next step and trust in the process, I believe that God only gave me a lamplight for my feet. I'm not supposed to see the whole picture. It would probably be overwhelming. If I had known I was going to have to move 9 times, I would probably crawled in a hole. I said, I'm not doing this. Trust in the process. Take the next step and trust in the process. That's all we have to do.
Amen.
But 2 of those ladies came up to me and one of them said, that last 30 minutes, totally in your element. You were totally in your element. And one of the ladies is this tall German lady. She don't smile much, right?
Right.
She's pretty stiff. And she comes up and she looks down at me. She goes, Carol, you were good last week at Kaiser. And she pauses. I'm sitting there waiting. And she goes, you were effing amazing today. And I was like, and folks, when I talk about trusting in someone else's vision, that's what I do for my clients. I hold the vision for my clients because at the end of that talk, who walks up to me but a vice president of HR from none other than American Express. And she introduces herself to me and she said, do you have a card? And I said, yes. And she said, I want you to come teach us to my HR team. And I said, do you have a card? And she said, no. Now, what did my brain, first thing it did was, oh, I'll never hear from her again. It's the salesperson's job to follow up. Mm-hmm. I'd quickly reframed it. I said, nope, I'm going to trust in the process. We chatted. This is August the 9th. And September rolled around and she called me. And that turned into me getting hired 6 times in 2019 to teach and train at American Express.
Look
because I trusted in someone else's vision for me, that I was a speaker. 3 pivotal times.
Wow. You know, they say that people have to speak life into you.
Yes.
You know, in order for you to believe what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And so that would, like you said, the conviction, it just kept coming back. It kept coming back. It kept coming back and kept coming back until you actually believe that, you know what, maybe this is what I'm supposed. This is what Carol's supposed to be doing. This is my purpose. This is my calling right here. And, you know, even through all of the things that you were, you know, you talked about all of the times you had to reframe your mind about certain things. But, you know, the good thing about it is even with the reframing, you still kept going. Even though you was like, yo, you know, you were questioning. You were questioning God a couple of times, right? Yeah. You know, because
we're moving again.
You know, there was a little hesitancy there, right? But you still kept going. And so that's the awesome thing about that is, you know, sometimes people will question and then they'll stop. and it won't keep going. But you just kept going. You just had to keep reframing your mindset.
Absolutely. Mindset is so key and so critical. I'm open to doing a little bit of teaching for your people about empowering questions if you'd like me to, but if you have some other questions, we can go that route as well.
Okay. Well, we'll come back. So if any of you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll use about 10 minutes to answer some questions, and then we'll go into the last 10 minutes talking about what things you have coming up and how people can reach out to you. But I'm going to go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And tonight's show is sponsored by GoFig Company. Now, look, if you're looking to step your game up in the digital world, which we're in right now, automation, graphic design, website, GoFig Company is definitely one of the people that companies I highly recommend. You're probably saying why? Because that's who handles a lot of my stuff. So if you've been to my website, you see my graphics, you've seen a lot of things that I do is because of this particular company right here. So if you're looking to hire someone, you can go to www.gofig, which is GEAUXFIG.com. Again, that is www.gofig.com. Now, look, before we go into the questions, Carol, what that first word says, it says go, but you still go, right? So you already know that's somebody what?
From Louisiana.
From Louisiana, or family from Louisiana. So look,
Go Tigers.
You know better than that.
That's right.
All right. So let's get back to the question. So if you all that are watching, anyone that's watching right now, if you're just tuning in, we are talking with Miss Carol Boston, the Queen of Reframe. She's been sharing her story of how she had to constantly reframe her mind every time she came upon an obstacle or didn't even believe in the vision other people had for her. So if you have any questions for this lady, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and she'll be willing to answer any questions that you may have. So drop them in the chat, and Carol will continue to talk and chat until someone drops their question down in the chat. Sure. They do so. So, okay, so here's the first question. Here we go. So Felicia Grimes says, how difficult is it to start on the speaking circuit?
I would tell you that I don't think my path is a normal path, right? To think that someone walked up to me and said, you're a speaker and I'm going to pay you for your first gig. So I don't think that happens to everybody. I think that if you have a plan in place, speak everywhere you can initially. Speak for free. Know your topic. Get in front of audiences. Have somewhere to lead them. It can be challenging, especially if you're looking to get the higher paid keynote gigs, right? Higher paid keynotes. Know your lane. I know where my lane is, right? That's where I show up to speak. It can be challenging, but there's a lot of resources out there to help you. For example, if you went and Googled right now, because I did this just the other day because I was looking for new opportunities, keynote speaking opportunities for women. A website popped up. I think it was called Innovation. Private message me. I'll find it for you. For $100, you join them $100 for a year. They've got 1,500 speakers in there. They've got 1,500 event planners in there. They're looking for speakers, right? You get to go put your little sizzle reel in there. You must develop a one sheet and your solid talk topics. Can't say that word, talk topics. And then they publish opportunities every week that are looking for speakers. That's a great place to start. Your local Toastmasters, if you haven't done a lot of speaking, is a good place to start. I get in front of a lot of women's groups. That's where I also start, the Broward Women's Alliance. So because my target is mainly female entrepreneurs and a few good men, but mainly female entrepreneurs. Let me know if that helped you.
Awesome. Thanks for the answer. And again, if you all need to know what that website is that she's talking about, just send her message. I'll pop her contact information up towards the end of the show so you can reach out to Carol. So here's the second question that is from Salika Corley Funches. How do you carve out time when working full time to work on your business/ministry?
So the first thing I would tell you, I'm going to give you a couple of empowering questions. These are going to be writer downers. An empowering question never starts with why. That's a huge writer downer. Write it down. Why brings in defensiveness, which brings in the ego, which brings in emotions. And when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. That's true for every human being, right? So empowering questions are specific and they're time bound. And the caveat is you cannot be attached to the outcome, and it's not your job to figure out the answer because the answer is right outside your jar. That's why you're asking these questions, because you're telling God and the universe, I'm open to hearing, seeing, saying, or doing something I've never done before. So the first thing I would say to you, write this down. What one thing, you're going to be specific. What one thing am I doing today that if I were to stop doing it would immediately free up 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, whatever you want to put in there, of my time right away? And you might be thinking, because you're in your jar, everything I do is important. I've got to do it all. No. We all have stuff and habits that we're doing on a daily basis that rob us of our time.
That's right.
Right? Not intentionally always. Sometimes we're just unaware of it, right? Another empowering question you could use is, you're asking me the question, how do you carve out time? That's an awesome question that you could ask every day. How can I carve out 15 minutes today, or whatever time frame you're trying to carve out, so that I can work on my, I think you said business or my ministry, so that I can work on my ministry and be excited and happy and stress-free while I'm doing it?
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Let me know if that helped you.
That was really good. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? If you do, we still have about 3 minutes. You can go ahead and drop it in the chat. I want to ask a question. When it comes to you being the queen of reframe, there are some things that like I said earlier, you had to always reframe, basically shift your mindset, and people will always cast that vision to you, for you to believe in yourself. My question is, what would you say to someone who is stuck and they don't know how to reframe their mindset to keep going?
Well, the first thing I'd say is maybe they need to talk to me about hiring me. The first thing, come on, you asked, right? I'm great at getting people unstuck. So the first thing I would tell you is I want you to substitute the word stuck for stubborn. Oftentimes we don't realize that we're being stubborn and that we're staying in a place of familiarity because it serves us to keep us in the familiar. And the only place you're going to grow is outside of your comfort zone. That's the only place you're going to grow. When you're looking at your habits and what you're doing and saying, I'm stuck, right? Often people who come to me, they say, I'm stuck, Carol. I struggle with this. I struggle with that. How many of you use that word struggle? Come on, put it in the chat. You've done it, right? Use the word struggle. Here's some writer downers for you. Powerful. Write this down. Struggle is optional. Struggle is a habit. I struggle because I'm addicted to my story. Then ask yourself, what story am I choosing? Because you are choosing. What story am I choosing to stay addicted to that's keeping me in the struggle? And then how is that serving me? Because oftentimes people will say, well, it's not serving me, Carol. I'm stuck. And I said, but it is. They were like, what do you mean? None of us, you, me included, no human being does anything repetitively without getting a payoff.
That's right.
But payoffs aren't always positive.
They aren't.
Right?
You're right.
And oftentimes people will state, I did it. Goodness gracious. from 15 to into 2017. I kept trying to hold on to those services, to stay in what was familiar, even though it was uncomfortable. I knew I was being called to something else. Right? So the first thing you can do is say, okay, where in my life am I choosing to be stubborn and not redirecting my behavior to take me down a new path today?
That's really good.
Right?
I like how you use that word, the substitute word, and say replace it with stubborn instead of stuck. Because, this is what I always tell the individuals that I coach. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. It's
Yes.
the words that we put in our own head sometimes and make up excuses because we don't want to come out of that comfort zone. Or for fear of the unknown, not sure if this is going to pan out right. But you'll never know unless you take that risk.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And here's the key when I talk about languaging. When you say I'm stuck, people tend to blame things outside of them for keeping them stuck. And as soon as you blame something outside of you, you just chose to give up your power. You gave it up. Because only when you own that you're choosing can you then make a different choice.
That's right.
When you use the word stubborn, guess what? That's an ownership word.
That's right.
It's an ownership word. Nobody outside of you is making you stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And only when you're owning that you're being stubborn can you then make a different choice.
That's right. And we always have a choice.
Yes.
We always have the choice in making the decisions that we need to make, whether it's the right or wrong decision, but we always have a choice.
Exactly. We may not like our options all the time.
Right. So that's good. I really appreciate that so much, Carol. And I just want to go back. I know Julie Spears had asked, she's watching over from YouTube, if there will be a replay. Yes, you can go back once the show is over. You can go back and watch this same replay on YouTube right here at the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I just want to shout out to all the amazing people that had tuned in today. Tracy Brown, Salika Funches. We have Veronica McGee. We have who else we had early? We had Lee Wright and Frank Henderson. Some amazing people that have tuned in. Mavis Creer. We have a lot of people that tuned in. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure that if you're just tuning in, to make sure that you go back and watch the replay from the beginning, because if you're looking for somebody that's good at telling a story, Carol just shared her story, but then she also shared it in a way to where it's like, okay, I'm not about to be stuck no more. It's go time, and she shared how she was able to reframe her mindset every time. And that's because she decided that she made that choice to not stay stuck. She got out of her own stubbornness and decided to keep on going. So look, Carol, thank you so much for being on the show. Can you tell our viewers how they can reach out to you? Because I know they're going to want to know how they can get on that speaker circuit, or they might want you to actually coach them and be their own personal coach. So how can people reach out to you and connect with you? And also tell us some of the things that you have coming up.
Okay. I'm going to say one thing that I saw in the comments, and it's by Catherine XMN.
Okay.
She heard me. I taught a course this past summer, and she says, my favorite Carol question I use is, and I ask myself daily, what else can I do today? What else is possible today? Will open the door. Remember, you're going to say these questions 6 to 8 times a day out loud and go right back to what you're doing. Your job is not to figure out the answer, right? I've got several things coming up that I'm working on. I'm developing a course called Limitless Leadership, 7 Steps to an Unstoppable Business. I just announced today I'm doing a 90-day intensive. I'm calling it a Success Blitz Camp. Right?
Uh-oh.
Blitz Camp. We're going to get your skill sets up. You're going to be kicking, in 2022. I'm only going to be accepting 12 people into that. It's going to be very, very intimate. You can connect with me at my email, carol@carolboston.com. You can private message me on Facebook, all of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Use the @ @THE @the Carol Boston. And on LinkedIn, it's @the Carol Boston Coaching. Connect with me anywhere there. On my personal page, I do a live show every Monday at noon called Carol's Courage to Confidence Corner, where I pour into people and do some teaching and training. And then on Wednesdays at 5:30, and you got to come, Dr. Yolanda, one day.
Oh, I'm coming. There's no doubt. You just let me know which Monday I can come so we can have that conversation. It's gonna be my turn.
You're coming to my show. And also on Wednesdays at 5:30, I have Carol's Craft Cocktails. Anybody can come to that. Listen, one of my favorite things, Dr. Yolanda, when I'm doing that show, her name is Amy Charlin. She's an amazing lady out of Oregon, past client of mine. She put it in the comments one night. She goes, I don't even drink alcohol, and this is the most fun I have all week. That's what I love about it. You don't have to drink alcohol. We make mocktails. Bring your coffee or smoothie. Bring a friend. We have a blast. Tracy has been there. She'll tell you.
Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Well,
I tell you what, I was thinking about doing something special for your tribe.
Well, come on with it. Y'all got y'all pens ready? She said she about to do something special. Y'all better get that pen.
There's a lot of people here tonight. For the first 5 people, just for the first 5, when you email me at carol@carolboston.com, 2 things are going to happen. One, you'll get a free copy of my book, Women Who Boss Up. But even better than that, I'm going to give you 90 minutes clarity to cash call. You will get totally clear on what's gotten you stuck. You will get effective action steps that you can take to get immediate results. And I'll do that for only $97. That's a 90% discount. $97 for 90 minutes with me, clarity to cash. And you can ask Tracy here in the thread. She did it. She gave me a great testimonial. So that you know how powerful that one session could be. I had one lady take it. She was working on 4 things, right? So I always give homework and we do a follow-up call. I want to make sure you're implementing what I gave you. So I said, I want you to move. I asked her to rank the 4 things that she was working on. So I said, I want you to take number 4 and I want you to put it at number 1. You know what she did? She goes, oh, Carol, I really don't like that one so much. And I said, do you trust me? And she said, yes. I said, great. Put number 4 to number 1, put number 3 to number 2. And I gave her exactly what I wanted her to go do for the next 2 weeks. In that month, the first month since that call, she grew that revenue stream that she didn't want to work on 33%.
Wow.
I'm really, really good at getting people
That's
into effective actions for immediate results.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, your bio said it. You said double or triple your income in record time. I mean, there's proof in the pudding. You got Tracy right here. Look, she best 90 minutes ever. You know what I mean? So you have people that are actually vouching for you. So obviously you have something that's of value. You know, it's not like they're just hiring you and just saying, I'm not getting what I paid for. And so look, if you all are looking to connect with Carol, go to carolboston.com. You heard her say she's even doing a special for the first how many people?
Only 5.
The first 5 people that contact her on her website. You know, that's a special deal. She will help you get to your double and triple income in record time. So
actually send me an email, please. Not my website. Send me a direct email, Carol@carolboston.com.
Hold on, let me put this in the chat. Email Carol.
It's Carol, Carol, Carol@carolboston.com.
Carol.
Let me know you came from Dr. Yolanda's show. And for the first 5,
email Carol at
carolboston.com.
Let me make sure this is right, so I can pop it up on the screen. If it's wrong, just tell me. I'm gonna fix it.
No, that's it. Carol@carolboston.com.
All right, first 5 people.
But you got to say you came from Dr. Yolanda's show. You got to tell me.
You got to say, I am the person that watched your interview on a Dr. Yolanda Jerry show. The first 5 people to email her, you will get that discount. So you don't want to miss out. Take her up on her offer. She has had a phenomenal interview tonight, and I'm just thankful. Again, been an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for even dropping all of the nuggets. I mean, I have my notes here. So every time you see me turn this way, I was writing some stuff down. So thank you for even pouring into me and also the Dr. Yolanda Jerry show audience. So thank you so much. I'll be in touch. I'll shoot you an email to see what day I can come on your show too as well, and we can have our chat. So thank you so much. You have any last minute comments or words of wisdom you want to leave with anyone before we conclude our interview today?
Other than being open and asking what else is possible today. And you can use that in any situation. I would leave you with something that has been so powerful in my life, is that your job, I believe God only gave you the lamplight for your feet.
That's good.
All you have to do is take the next step and trust in the process.
Amen. Yeah, I heard it from the Queen of Reframe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Be
Thank you.
sure to tune in next Thursday. We have another special guest every Thursday. You know, I'm bringing them in. So tune in next Thursday. The Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show airs 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, if nobody has told you today that they love you, know that I love you, but most of all, God loves you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and take care. Until next time, be blessed.